And we're kicking off with AEW, as the company has a huge summer coming up with the launch of Collision, the return of CM Punk, and the upcoming All In event in London. With All In marking AEW's first event in the UK, the company wants to make a huge first impression overseas, and could be bringing in a WWE Hall of Famer to do just that. According to sources, talks between AEW and Bill Goldberg have been going so well that many in AEW consider his signing as a certainty, and right now, the major question is who he will face in what will presumably be his retirement match. Interestingly, one name being thrown around backstage is Ryback Reeves, the ex-WWE superstar who often drew comparisons to Goldberg during his WWE run, though he has not wrestled since 2018. Ryback recently said that he will be fully cleared to wrestle by this summer, and while we can't confirm how serious discussions about Goldberg vs. Ryback are, talks have been happening. Another idea being thrown around is for Goldberg's retirement match to be a multi-man match, which would help hide the limitations of the 56-year-old. If so, that match would see Goldberg team with fellow WCW alum Sting as well as Darby Allin to face the Jericho Appreciation Society, with the angle playing on Goldberg's real-life heat with Jericho during their days in WCW. Another name being thrown around if Goldberg commits to a singles match is TNT champion Wardlow, who, like Ryback, has been compared to Goldberg in the past. This is certainly a match Wardlow wants, as he told What Culture Wrestling in a recent interview that it wouldn't get bigger for him than to face the WWE Hall of Famer. Whether AEW picks one of these three ideas or goes with something else entirely, it's impossible to say at this time, but who would you like to see step in the ring with Goldberg for Bill's final match? In a few short years on WWE's main roster, Rhea Ripley has become one of the top names in the women's division and is currently dominating as the SmackDown Women's Champion. Ripley defeated Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania to win the title and has since retained against Zelina Vega and Natalya, but who will be stepping up to Mommy in the future. According to sources, one plan is for Ripley to face off against Becky Lynch when the time is right, but that feud won't be starting just yet. The source added that the plan is for Lynch's feud with Trish Stratus to wrap up first, and a rematch between the Man and the Hall of Famer is expected for SummerSlam. What we do know is that if Lynch vs. Ripley takes place, the current plan is for Lynch to put Ripley over in what some have seen as a passing of the torch moment between the two. While Lynch was once the unquestionable top star in WWE's women's division, there has been a clear shift as of late. And are you excited to see Lynch and Ripley compete later this year? If you've seen Brock Lesnar in the ring or the Octagon, you'll know that the former UFC heavyweight champion is not somebody to mess with. Countless people have fallen victim to the Kimura lock, the F5, or have taken a trip to Suplex City, and now actor Eric Stonestreet could be next. In a series of clips on social media, the Modern Family star threatened to punch the next person he sees in order to take out his anger, which just so happened to be the Beast incarnate. Of course, this shouldn't be taken seriously as the pair are clearly good friends in real life, and this series of videos have been made up just for laughs. The original clip of the two went viral on the internet, and fans had no idea at the time that Brock, of all people, could make viral clips with a Hollywood celebrity. While Lesnar can be as dangerous as possible in a ring, he isn't afraid to show his funnier side, and what do you make to this viral video from Brock and Stonestreet? We've got some unfortunate news from Ted DiBiase now, as the $1 Million Man opened up about a serious medical issue. Speaking on an episode of his Everybody's Got a Pod show, DiBiase spoke about his current health and the long-term effects his career in the ring has had on him. "I don't have Alzheimer's and I don't have dementia, but they said, 'Ted, you have something. We just simply call it severe brain trauma. I only wrestled maybe almost 20 years, so I'm not surprised I might have a little brain trauma. What it affects is my memory, and they say it'd be easier for me to remember something I did 40 or 50 years ago, but the short-term memory, some of the stuff like now, it's bits and pieces.'" DiBiase was on NXT programming not too long ago as part of Cameron Grimes' feud with LA Knight, and his name has been in the headlines recently for alleged ties to the Mississippi Welfare Fund scandal. For decades, the $1 Million Man entertained fans in various promotions, and we'd like to wish him the best as he deals with this unfortunate health update. On this week's NXT, Mustafa Ali appeared on the Gold brand and stood up to Joe Gacy, who was in the middle of a post-match attack on Wes Lee and Tyler Bate. Ali had reportedly suggested to WWE just days prior about a possible move to the Gold brand in order to help out talent on the Gold brand, but this move could also be seriously beneficial to him. On commentary, Ali's status as an undrafted free agent was brought up, and it could be that he will be appearing on NXT regularly moving forward. Some are under the impression that Shawn Michaels is aiming to replicate the success of Mandy Rose with Ali, as the former superstar had the best run of her career when she moved to NXT. Speaking of Rose, she has said that she has not ruled out a return to WWE, but given the fortune she has made on her website, it's not like she ever needs to don her wrestling boots ever again. As for Ali, the 37-year-old superstar is coming off of a brief push and storyline with Gunther on Raw, and will NXT be a career-changing brand for Mustafa Ali? Only time will tell. During this week's episode of The Bump, Chelsea Green appeared on the show, and it's safe to say that the former hot mess of Impact Wrestling ruffled some feathers. The episode also saw Titus O'Neil appear and talk about his recent work with WWE, which brought out a scathing line from Green, who said, "Do you ever actually, get in the ring and do what you get paid to do?" It's certainly true that O'Neil hasn't competed in the ring for some time, with his most recent match seeing him lose to Bobby Lashley in November of 2020, and in response, Titus said, "See, that's the problem, guys. Worry about your tag team moves that you don't possess right now. Go and win the women's tag team titles, and then you come and talk to me about what's been done and what's not done." While Green has been wrestling recently, her luck hasn't been the best, and this week's Raw saw her and Sonya Deville fail to capture the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Time will tell whether Green and Deville ever hold the gold, and whether Titus ever steps back in the ring, but the two had some barbs for each other on the bump without ever coming to blows. Last October, Raine made her NXT debut as part of the Dyad, making her the first fourth-generation superstar in the history of WWE. Since then, Ava has competed a handful of times, but solely in tag team action, but that could be about to change for the daughter of The Rock. During this week's episode of the Gold brand, Ivy Nile challenged Ava to a match for next week, but Raine was yet to give an answer. Presuming that Ava accepts the challenge, it will mark just her third match ever in WWE and her first ever singles match. Apart from her in-ring debut at Stand and Deliver, Ava Raine also competed in a trios match at an NXT house show back in April, but things will be much different if she wrestles one-on-one next week. As the daughter of the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, expectations are understandably high for Raine. And what have you made to Ava's presence, promos, and skills so far as an NXT superstar? Back to WWE's main roster, and in his 5 matches so far with WWE, Logan Paul has wowed even the most cynical of fans with his mixture of in-ring ability and natural charisma as a heel. Fans last saw the Maverick in the ring at WrestleMania in a match which Seth Rollins said proves Paul belongs in WWE, and the YouTuber's return could be very near. During his Impulsive podcast, Logan Paul was quite blunt about his intentions and made it clear that he wants to be back and be back soon. He said, "I'm so hungry to get back in there, dude. I'm so hungry to get back in there, and I just got cable here in Puerto Rico. I've been watching Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown in the big events. Night of Champions just happened. As a fan, for the first time, I'm watching the consumer angle. I didn't always do that. As a YouTuber, I got to go and be a YouTuber because I knew what people are looking for, what they wanted, and what made a good video, and kept the audience retained. Now, as a WWE fan, I can see how the performance translates from what it feels like from my perspective to on TV. I think this angle in these last 3 months I've had off in this sport will lead to an amazing next couple of years in WWE. I appreciate you saying that. I'm really excited to get back." We can't say for certain when Logan Paul will be back in the ring, but it was reported not too long ago that his name was being thrown around backstage for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Logan Paul has impressed fans with every outing he's had, and he can't wait to get back in the ring, and with Money in the Bank and SummerSlam coming up, it wouldn't be a huge surprise to see the Maverick resurface very soon. It was 1 month ago today that Carmella announced that she is expecting her first child, in incredible news for both herself and her husband, Corey Graves. This week, the couple appeared on the Tamron Hall show with a huge announcement in mind, and the duo revealed that they are expecting a baby boy. After announcing last October that she had suffered a miscarriage, news of this pregnancy had been incredibly well received, and we're continuing to send Carmella and Graves all the best as they prepare for the birth of their son. As we all know, the Anoa'i wrestling family has many branches, but few members of the family have been as successful as Roman Reigns. The undisputed WWE Universal Champion continues to dominate WWE despite the ongoing implosion of the bloodline, but his reign of dominance has now inspired his cousin Zilla. Zilla Fatu, who is also the cousin of the Usos, began training last December at Booker T's Reality of Wrestling promotion, and in a recent interview disclosed that he wants to be like the tribal chief. Zilla praised his cousin, saying everything he does in the ring is a story, and like Reigns, the son of Umaga wants to have that kind of control within a match. When the interviewer told Zilla that to have as much sway as Roman Reigns, you need to be at the top of the industry, Zilla was confident in his future goals, saying, "Obviously I will." Zilla Fatu was released from Texas State Penitentiary in March 2022 and is looking to turn his life around. And when it comes to being a dominant wrestler, it's wise for him to learn from the example of his cousin, Roman Reigns. And we're ending today with RVD, who was part of ECW for years, and during his time, worked alongside the likes of Chris Candido and Tammy Sytch. During one segment between the two, RVD was supposed to grab the butt of Sytch, infuriating the injured Candido, and Van Dam's attempts to be a gentleman didn't sit well with ECW production. On his podcast, RVD said that in the first take, he barely touched Sytch, but he was sure that the camera would make it look like he grabbed her, and both the production team and Sytch felt it was a very poor job. By the time the final take was recorded, RVD had squeezed her butt so much that Sytch audibly yelped in what was just another wild moment during Van Dam's ECW career.